Guest video: Edgar Cayce. According to the introduction to this guest video, Edgar Cayce has become the most documented psychic of the 20th century. A total of 14,306 readings are available at the ARE, Association for Research and Enlightenment, Cayce headquarters in Virginia Beach. And an online, members-only section can be accessed with background information, correspondence, and follow-up documentation. As the documentary we have selected is comprehensive and without prejudice, we suggest you use the documentary to get full details. Search for Edgar Cayce 2012 Biography. About Edgar Cayce. Edgar Cayce was born in 1877 in Kentucky, USA. Cayce's parents were farmers. This is his father. Edgar was principally a healer, but displayed other clairvoyant abilities. He was married to Gertrude Evans and had 3 children: Hugh Lynn, Edgar Evans, and Milton Porter, who died in infancy. There are interviews with both Edgar Evans Cayce, his son, who died in 2013, and Hugh Lynn's son Charles Thomas Cayce, who died in 2016, in the video, as well as one of Cayce's biographers, A. Robert Smith, still alive. The other interviewee is Harmon Hartzell Bro, Ph.D., who died in 1997. He was a psychotherapist, an educator, a writer, an ordained minister, and a lecturer. For more than a year, Harmon lived and worked in Edgar Cayce's home and witnessed firsthand approximately 600 of Cayce's psychic readings. Eventually, Harmon made Edgar Cayce the topic of his doctoral dissertation, and would go on to write several books about the Cayce information. As such, we are privileged to hear the testimonies of numerous, now dead, witnesses able to give first-hand accounts of Edgar in this video. Finally, Edgar Cayce was a devout Christian and a Sunday school teacher. When Edgar was not giving readings, his profession was that of a photographer. He died in 1945, aged 67, from a stroke largely brought on by overwork. Method of attaining his readings: Cayce would lie down on a couch and enter a trance-like condition, which he described as self-hypnosis. In trance, he would then perform diagnosis of illnesses, for example, or recommend cures. The patient did not have to be there. The video provides an example of a reading done for a man who was in New York but was late for his appointment with Edgar. As Edgar said, "We do not have the body." And Edgar's higher spirit had to wait until the man arrived. Thus the diagnosis appears to have been achieved via telepathy, communication between his higher spirit and the subject's higher spirit. But Edgar would wake not knowing what had been said through him. Cayce believed it was all channeled to his subconscious by his higher spirit. He had someone else record what he said. First his words were recorded by his friend, Ul Lane, then by his wife, Gertrude Evans, and later by his secretary, Gladys Davis Turner. And since he sometimes described cures when he himself had no medical training, and these cures worked, his higher spirit was clearly seeking help from all the other higher spirits, the so-called Akashic records. Since Edgar said that he could see auras around people, could communicate with angels, and could hear the voices of departed relatives, he was clearly connected to the spiritual realm. and managed to convince himself that indeed reincarnation was a reality and past lives were worth exploring. Prophecy. His prophecies, which came later, were criticized heavily. And indeed, putting dates on any prophecy is madness, as the area you are investigating is an area of no time. And Cayce said so, although no one appears to have understood what he meant. But he did get quite a few prophecies right. For example, the ability to diagnose illness from blood samples. The unexpected entry of Japan into World War II. And it is the nature of man to ridicule something they cannot conceive. Cayce predicted a pole shift. And even today the extremely rapid changes in the magnetic pole are being monitored, though whether a complete pole shift occurs cannot be predicted. But already the calculations show that many land masses would be submerged and new ones may re-emerge. And the new risen land masses appear to coincide in position with Atlantis and Lemuria. And Edgar's thoughts on Atlantis recorded by his two sons were ridiculed. And his thoughts on Lemuria have almost been totally ignored. This is despite the fact Plato in his Critias wrote about Atlantis. And Rudolf Steiner also wrote about Atlantis and Lemuria. But the prophecy most likely to come true in our lifetimes is this one: the medicine of the future will be music and sound, with music being used in the treatment of the mentally ill, and vibrations being used to heal fractures and organ failures. And maybe this is why pharmaceutical companies are ridiculing Edgar Cayce's cures and prophecies.